What's up, everybody? So, the latest rumor for God of War coming from Nate the Hate, a known leaker who usually has the right information, and he said that yes, the game is set within the God of War universe. He's replying to somebody. And the lead character will be Faye, so Kratos' second wife, new wife in the Norse, games. And this will differ from the Norse God of War games with more of a focus on action. And I don't know if this was like another rumor or if people are just assuming it will be something more akin to Devil May Cry. I keep seeing that. I'm also thinking of like something like Final Fantasy 16. And seeing this information as a huge God of War fan, I'm just not excited about this one. Granted, I'm not saying like this is gonna suck or anything like that right off the bat. It just feels like another Ascension moment. So if you're not an old like Greek trilogy fan, basically like, God of War 3 ends with him killing himself, and you see a blood trail off the mountain, and it's like, okay, he's still alive, he's still out there. And I forget, a couple years later or something like that, they like showed off a trailer and people were like, oh, like we're back, we're doing like, where's he at now? And it just ended up being Ascension, when they're like, oh, we're gonna do a prequel series, we're gonna take it back even further. And it's like, that's not what we want. We want the future, right? We don't want to go backwards. So this feels like, God of War Ragnarok, spoilers if you haven't played at this point, ends with Atreus going off of his own. And, Kratos really felt like he had kind of, is almost kind of done with this story. And then you play Valhalla and it really felt like he was kind of done with this story. Granted, I think there's a little more to tell, but that's a different video. But I was just like, the next logical step just seems to be Atreus, especially because people, I feel like, are kind of divisive on his gameplay in the game. So it's like, if you want to move forward with the franchise, you have to kind of make us, like him. So to be like, no, we're not going to the future, we're going to the past with, Faye, Kratos' wife, it's just kind of like a weird decision, because it's just like, I feel like of all the cast of characters that we have, like, she's not even in the realm of like someone I want to play more, or someone I'm interested to see more of. I personally felt like her emotional part in the first game, because we didn't actually see her, and the moments that she has in Ragnarok were exactly what we needed. We could have had more, but I felt like she served her purpose in the story and, got us to where we wanted to go. So to be like, no, we're going to tell more of her stories, it kind of feels like when, these movie franchises, I'm thinking mainly of Disney, are just like, we need to answer the question that no one's been asking. I'm mainly in like Star Wars. And it's like, I don't know if we need to do that. Granted, again, this, they may drop the trailer in spring or summer or whatever, and it might look super dope, and I'm probably gonna, if it looks cool, I'm probably gonna get it anyways. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. All right. Again, I love God of War. I bought Sons of Sparta. I haven't played it yet, but just because I was like, I don't even play Metroidvanias. That's how much, again, I like God of War. So yeah, this could be a cool game, but again, I just feel like, why Faye? why are we spending more time with her? It seems weird to not only do the past, but to do a character that I don't think anyone is particularly asking for. Also, this will be the first God of War game that isn't you playing Kratos. Granted, I know the thing he said was that the lead character will be Faye, so maybe we will have someone else to kind of play off as, and maybe we do play Kratos a little bit, or maybe it is like the God of War games where you have like some sort of sidekick. But yeah, Faye feels like a weird choice. So what I actually want to do is bring up some characters that I feel like would be a great choice, specifically if they are going in the more action genre of something like DMC or something like that. So again, for Faye, we'll see what happens if this is true, what her gameplay looks like. Maybe it could be cool. She has magic and maybe some specific weapons we haven't seen or anything like that. But in my personal opinion, there's a number one spot. We're gonna start off with number 3. And number 3, just hear me out, okay? Number 3, I think, is Mimir. Now, I know what you're thinking. He's just ahead, right? But if we're going to go back in the past, right? Mimir is the god of knowledge. We haven't really seen, like, he was stuck in a tree, but we haven't really seen him. And I did a quick Google search, and he's just kind of like, that's like his story, is like getting his head chopped off, and then Odin would like ask him questions and stuff like that. But I was like, oh, wouldn't it be super cool if it was like a Azura's Wrath Sifu type game where he is going to collect, maybe he's like, oh, I gotta find like this ancient text, I heard it's like super important, yada yada, and people are in his way, and he is just throwing hands. You know what I'm talking about? And he's out there, you're just kicking ass and taking names, and maybe instead of like different powers, you have like different fighting styles. And so I was like, ooh, I think Mimir could be super cool. He already has a cool design in his face, so like, yeah, give him a body, give him some martial arts, give me a quick like 6 to 8 hour game. I feel like that could be cool. I feel like that'd be cool. But this is the most divisive out of the three. Let's move on. I think a great one, especially again thinking more action, thinking DMC stuff like that, where you're kind of like floaty, as people like to say. I think Freya would be amazing, right? So she already has magic, right? We already know she can kick ass. She used to be a Valkyrie, so she has wings. We know that she can transform into a bird. I don't think she transforms into anything else, but she can transform too. So I feel like she has all the power set of something like a DMC. Like you can run around, shoot some magic, float up with your wings, hit some, aerial enemies, come back down. Maybe you have an AoE attack or something like that. Maybe there are some sort of fun flying mechanic things where you turn into a bird and you gotta like get through some obstacles to get to the other side. Maybe a fun way to like load the next area without us shimmying through some rocks, as they like to do. So yeah, she is, I feel like, way more interesting and has everything you need for like a great action based DMC type game where you're like zipping around the camera. Don't know why she was left out, but the number one answer, which I just can't believe, I wish I could be a fly on the wall, just like or just honestly I'd be in the room and be like, have we thought about this, is Thrud, which is Thor's daughter. If you haven't seen the end in a little I guess Easter egg, she now has a hammer, right? Who doesn't want Thor's hammer? People like Thor from the Marvel movies. Thor is kind of cool in the God of War games. I think about the part where he like brings Kratos back to life. Like, no, we ain't done yet. But Thor in those games is an absolute unit. So I think having her be smaller but still strong, right? She is buff. She was training to be a Valkyrie. I think her dealing with the death of her father, the death of her shitty grandfather, having a strict mother, I think all that could lend itself to, and then like what she's going to do next will all land to the emotional story part of the game. And again, you have Thor's hammer, so you're swinging around, you're throwing some lightning, you swing up, boom boom boom. Same thing with Freya, calm down. This one would make so cool if you drop down and just a bunch of lightning came down with you. I think especially like when I'm like, okay, cool, DMC, right? I think just that, like having a small teenage girl with Thor's hammer is a perfect setup to just have you zip around, crush people, feel good. I can almost like feel the way that it feels to metaphorically have the hammer in your hand. And I think setting up Kratos with the Leviathan axe of like having it and then calling it back, it's like, okay, the blueprint's already there, but again, everything that Thrud has already been through, I feel like sets her up to be the interesting enough that it's like, okay, cool, not the character I am asking for, but I think just giving someone cool combat and giving them Thor's hammer is enough that people will be like, I gotta play that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Thrud is the best answer for this side action-based game. Maybe there's a character I didn't think of. Let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, I think Thrud is like the obvious answer to be good enough for this small adventure, Miles Morales, Uncharted Lost Legacy, hopefully shorter game. I just don't know why they didn't do it and why they chose Faye of all people. Again, maybe they're cooking, and I don't know. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, let me know who you would pick, or if you think one of the three that I brought up would be the best choice for what they should have done instead. But again, this is just a rumor, so who knows. Anyways, until next time, peace.